Algebra 1 outline for 0 chapters, part 7. This is on perimeter. What's perimeter? Fritz?
The outside of a shape, like it's the length.
The length, or we sometimes call it distance. So the distance around object or a shape, the outside, right? So if I talk about trying to get from one side of my pool to the other, I would have to walk around the perimeter or swim through it, right? But if I didn't want to get wet, I would have to walk around the edge. The edge of my pool is the perimeter. Now, obviously, we're not just talking about circles or squares. We have several different shapes. Actually, there's just a whole bunch of shapes. So we just kind of here are talking about kind of the more common ones. And some of these common ones are nice to know. Some of them are easier to remember than others, like the square and the rectangle. You don't necessarily have to remember a square is 4a, where a is a side length, right? That means all sides are side length a. Some books might use L, so it might be 4L for length. You don't have to remember that if you know the formula for a rectangle, where the rectangle is add up two sides of A, because there's top and a bottom, and two sides of B, left and right, which is the exact same thing as if I start here on this corner and go A plus B plus A plus B, and back up, right? Two A's and two B's adds up to 2A plus 2B. It happens to be all of them are the same variable. That's why you get a square, same size. It's 4 times that variable for A. Circle is the next one that we come up with a lot. And they have it kind of spelt out there. Actually, I think I found this maybe possibly on the internet. And I don't necessarily like the fact that they use X's. We don't use X's anymore in algebra to denote multiplication. We use them as variables. So it might be better off to say 2 pi r. So P perimeter equals 2 pi r. That might be a better option. That is the circumference. Another word for perimeter, right? We'll get to that later on. A parallelogram. Parallelogram, a rectangle, is a type of parallelogram. So a parallelogram, remember, has two opposite pairs or sides that are what? Like these two sides are? Yeah. Parallel. These two sides are parallel. So guess what? It's basically taking a box and kind of taking your foot and pushing it over a little bit, right? So it's still 2a plus 2b. A triangle has only 3 sides. And so you just add up all the sides. Trapezoid. Interesting. Again, if we named all the different sides as a plus a, b, c, d all the way around, a, b, c, and d, what I find is I can just add them all up. But what is this? 2m plus c, d? I wouldn't worry about that. That get more confusing than anything. M actually stands for the midline. So the midline, 2 times m, be 2 times the midline plus the c and d, which is the top and, the top of your trapezoid. And D is one of the side lengths. So I wouldn't worry about that one. I would stick with the add all the way around. So example 1 says find the perimeter of each figure. I got 2 of them on the board here. It says we got a rectangle with a length of 5 inches and a width of 1 inch. So first of all, I want to write down the formula. Right? Because if I want to use a formula, I'm going to write it down. What's the formula for perimeter of a rectangle again? Kathy? Kathy, go ahead. 2a plus 2b, or a plus b plus a plus b. Yeah. Where a in our case, we can call it what? What do you want to call a? 1, okay. And b then has to be? I'm hoping you guys are sitting back going, oh my goodness, this is too easy. 2 times 1? 2. 2 times 5? And so it equals 12 what? Inches. Is it inches? Inches squared, inches cubed? It's just inches because it's a distance, and distance is units, not units squared. Units squared comes in when we find the area. Units cubed would be volume. Next one. Try it on your own. That should be enough time. What is the formula for this one? P equals 4a. So P equals 4 times, what's a? Which is 28 centimeters. Done. Okay, not so bad. These next two, one's a parallelogram, the other one's a triangle. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to do this on your own. So, perimeter of a parallelogram. It is what again? Right, all the time to think about this and now no one wants to answer. Parker? 2a plus 2b. So when I start to fill in, what are we going to call a? What are we going to call b? What's a? 12. I heard 12, so that means b has to be 14. 2 times 12. 2 times 14. Add them together, and what do you get? 52 meters. Not so bad. Hey, a triangle. Perimeter of a triangle is? Yeah, a plus b plus c. Where a will be? 9. Okay, b will be? And then c we're calling 15. Yes, I kind of like that you guys did this. Did it really matter though overall? No. But I would definitely keep c 15 because c should always be your hypotenuse. Because later on, at some point in your math career, you guys are going to know something called Pythagoras Theorem. You guys may know that. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And in that case, that would include c being the hypotenuse along your side. So what is 9 plus 12 plus 15? I hear 36, and we're going with millimeters, so it's millimeters. The next one's on circles. So, circles, what's a circle? It's the very first thing way up on top there. What's a circle? What's a circle? Anybody have a definition of a circle? So, circle is all points that are equal distance from a fixed point, so we say from a center. So, what exactly does that mean? That means if I took a look at that larger circle in the middle here, that point right there is the center, yes? It doesn't matter. I'm going to change colors. We'll take it off after. That if I took that, I don't want to use that color. We'll use a green. That if I started there and I followed that radius, they call it a radius there, that's a fixed distance, yes? That's d. We'll call that d for distance. That distance is the same as that distance, yes? Which is the same as that distance, that distance, that distance, that distance, that, and it keeps going, infinite many times. And what it does is it leaves that ring of that where that point would lie, which creates a circle. Okay? That's the definition, locus definition of a circle, actually. But we'll take that away. So let's talk about the circle and different things. We have things called a radius here. And a radius is an interval joining the century. This obviously is not an American English word. So it's supposed to be center to the circumference, aka the side of the circle. The diameter is the distance all the way across the circle, but it has to pass through the center point. And a chord, guys, is any interval or distance from one side of the circle to the other. The diameter is technically considered a chord, yes? Because I'm going from this side all the way to that side. So yes, the diameter is a chord, but a chord usually is if I'm cutting part of the circle off, or cutting corners. I guess there's no corners on a circle, but I'm cutting sides. Okay? And circumference on the bottom there. Circumference is equal to the it's the perimeter. Distance around. And again, how do we find the circumference? P equals, actually I'm going to use C now. When we talk about circles, I'm going to say circumference instead of perimeter. It's C equals, Parker? 2 pi r. That's a big one. Know that. So now that we talked about circles, let's find the circumference to the nearest tenth. So you guys will probably have to have a calculator for these ones. Maybe not. But we have a circle with a radius of 4 feet. Guys, there's no picture to accompany this. So you may want to draw one. So draw yourself a circle with a radius from the center that has 4. Yes? Oh, I'm going to find the circumference. I probably should write what down?
2 pi r.
C equals 2 pi r because that's the circumference formula. Joe.
For pi, do you want us to use 3.14 the whole pi?
You will use the pi button on your calculator because that will give you the most accurate approximation. 3.14, guys, is an approximation of pi. For all intents and purposes, 3.14 is pretty darn close because if you think about it, it's 4 hundredths, right? 3.14, I'm going to write it here. 3.14. The 1 is in the 10th spot, 4 is in the hundredths. If you're getting close, if you're getting within the hundredths of something, you're pretty close. I mean, unless you're trying to, being a machinist and make a precision instrument that has to send something to space, 3.14 is going to be perfectly fine. Okay? I think before we had calculators, guys, we had things called slide rulers. I actually have one in my drawer. I'll take it out and show you guys. You guys may have never seen one. Slide rulers put the people on the moon. They didn't have calculators to put a person on the moon. Crazy stuff. So, 3.14 is good, but we all have a pi button on our calculator. Let's use that. So, if I go through and I plug in, that's why I wrote down my formula. 2, we know 2, pi is pi, and the circumference is 4. And what's 2 times 4? Guys? 2 times 4? 8. So we get 8 pi. Is everybody okay with that right there? Notice that I just kind of multiplied by, is it association property? I took the 2 and the 4 and put it together first, and then I multiplied to pi. Now it's a lot easier to put it on my calculator. What's 8 times pi? Think of this. Pi is 3 point something. 3 times 8 is 24. You know your answer is going to be bigger than 24. And not by much, right? It's kind of a self-check yourself. Like, how do I make sure if I'm doing things right? Rich? 25.132. Are we done with this problem? Parker. You need a label. Okay, what do you want to label it? Feet. Okay. Are we done with this problem? Logan.
You have to reduce the nearest 10.
Yeah, we got to go to the nearest tenth. We don't want the nearest thousandth. It's not 0.132. It's 25.1. Remember, you look at the next number behind it. If it's lower than 5, you round down. If it's higher than, it's a 5 or above, you round up. So technically, those are gone. It's 25.1 feet. Make sense? Next one doesn't give us a radius, it gives us a diameter. I think we can draw that. What do we get when we draw that? We get a circle that goes all the way across that says it's 15. Does that help us? Does that help us at all? I did leave something out for you guys. Does anybody make a connection? Kathy?
Wouldn't the diameter, or wouldn't the radius be half of the diameter?
Radius is half, so that means that R would have to be 15 over 2, yes? Which is what? 7.5. And now I just got to use the formula, right? Okay. You guys say so. Actually, I'm saying so because you guys aren't really talking today. But C equals 2 pi R, yeah? Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. 2 pi times 7.5. What did I do last time to make it a little bit easier for myself? Rich? It reduced. Not yet. Kathy? Yeah, I did the 2 and the 4 last time to get 8. Can I do the same thing with 2 and 7.5? And what happens when I multiply 2 times 7.5? It's 15. What? Why do I have 15 there? Wait. Yeah. I just divided by 2. Guys, the radius is half of the diameter. Well, guess what? That means that the diameter is twice the radius, yes? Do you guys see that every time I write this formula down, I get 2 times pi times r? So essentially, I have 2 times r, and 2 times r is the diameter. So could I have done this instead? The diameter times pi? Yes. Would have probably made my life a little easier for this one, because then I just would have known it's 15 pi, or 15 pi equals what again? Anyone new want to contribute? Fritz. 47.1. Does everybody think that he rounded correctly? And is it centimeters squared, centimeters, millimeters? What should we at? Should be centimeters. I'm not going to do the last problem because it's no different than the first problem we did, right? Just put in 3. We're good to go. All right. chapter 0.7, page P25, 1 through 20. Have a fantastic day.